So it's that time of the week that I pick up a rotisserie chicken because I want an easy dinner. I'm going to show you how I make that viral chicken cobbler recipe using the Cheddar Bay biscuit batter. It's so good. And I think it's pretty easy. Okay, so one rotisserie chicken, you'll want to shred that. This is a 2-pound rotisserie chicken, so all the meat goes in. 1 stick of butter. I'm going to be using that Red Lobster Cheddar Bay biscuit mix, mixed vegetables, frozen. Here's a can of evaporated milk, a can of cream of chicken condensed soup. I'm also using a can of chicken broth. I'm also going to be adding some cheddar cheese and jalapeños into the mix. It's so good with this. Okay, so shred your chicken. Get someone to help. I have my husband here helping out. Or you can boil chicken. You'll need about 1.5 pounds of cooked chicken. Okay, so you want to add the butter to a 9x13 baking dish, and while you preheat the oven, melt the butter. Now you could just melt the butter in a bowl and pour it into your 9x13 baking dish, but you know, one less dish to wash is a win in my kitchen, so do that. Preheat your oven to 350, by the way. And just once it's almost melted, you can remove it, and that's ready. And just set it aside till you're ready to start putting everything into the baking dish. Okay, so here in your baking dish, you'll want to add all of your shredded chicken. That goes in. And then after you add your shredded chicken, you'll want to add your frozen veggies. One trick that I think, if you could thaw this and remove any extra liquid, that helps this recipe, but mine's kind of semi-frozen. I'm going to season with salt, pepper, and garlic. I'm also going to add some granulated onion powder. By the way, if you hear noises in the background, that's just my family and my son just having a ball. He's playing video games. So to a bowl, you'll want to add your condensed chicken soup. And to that, I'm going to add 1 can. This is a 14.5 ounce can of chicken broth. Now the original recipe calls for 2 cups of chicken broth, but I find pantry staples kind of easy to work with. So if you have a can of chicken broth, that makes this a lot easier. So just mix that up until everything is well combined. And then you'll want to pour it onto the chicken and vegetables. And the beauty of this recipe, it's kind of like dump and go. You don't have to mix anything. Okay, onto the biscuit batter. So in the same bowl, I'm going to add that Red Lobster Cheddar Bay biscuit mix. And if you can't find this mix, I'll give you an alternative to have a really good like chicken pot pie type recipe. Okay, so that went into the bowl, and also it comes with a seasoning packet that you'll want to add. So this recipe video for chicken cobbler went viral with a content creator, Your Barefoot Neighbor, and he piggybacked off of another recipe for chicken cobbler with the content creator Everyday with Amber. And I'm going to piggyback off of them and kind of make this my own. By the way, I'm only adding 12 ounces or 1.5 cups of evaporated milk. The original recipe calls for 2 cups of whole milk. I'm just opting for evaporated milk because it's in my pantry and it's in a can. So just like the chicken broth, that was a can of chicken broth. Sometimes measurements or just grabbing a can and dumping it is easier than measuring it. I don't know. Okay, I'm adding 4 ounces of sharp cheddar cheese and 1 jalapeno going in. I'm calling this my cheddar jalapeno chicken cobbler recipe. And honestly, it wasn't that hard to come up with. Like I said, the original recipe went viral a couple of years ago, and it's so good. Okay, give that a mix, and you'll notice my biscuit dough batter is not as runny as the original. That's okay, it all works. Now I'm going to put that over the chicken, vegetables, and that chicken condensed soup broth mixture. And in the original recipe, you add the biscuit batter first and then the broth mixture. I'm just doing it this way because I really want a crusty top. Okay, so just sort of spread that out. You don't really mix it. And you're going to bake this in a preheated oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 55 minutes to an hour. And that might seem like a long time, but it's totally worth the wait. And in my opinion, it's so comforting and it's so easy when you grab a rotisserie chicken and you just want dinner all in one baking dish. So we're going to carefully remove that. And you can let it set for about 10-15 minutes or just serve as is. And it comes out very saucy. You might think it's a little too runny and you want something thicker, but it totally works with the sauciness of this and the density and fluffiness of the biscuit dough top. It's so good. So if you are anything like my family, some type of chicken pot pie always works its way into dinner rotation. And this is just another great way to utilize rotisserie chicken and to get that chicken pot pie type meal. It's so good. I am going to show you another easier, lazier version of something like chicken pot pie that anyone can make. You've probably made it. And if you're looking at this video and you cannot find the Red Lobster Cheddar Bay biscuit batter, just opt for a can of biscuit dough. It totally works. But this is so good. So if you get the chance, you got to try it. Just like I am right now. I got to dig in. It smells so good. So cheddar jalapeno chicken cobbler is the way to go if you want a comforting meal that's kind of like a chicken pot pie. But on to the next version. Today, I'm going to show you the easiest, laziest chicken pot pie you'll ever make. Here's what I'm working with. I have 1 can of jumbo biscuits. These are flaky biscuits, 8 in a can. I have a 10 to 12 ounce bag of mixed vegetables. Here I have a 22 ounce can of cream of chicken. I'm going to be adding some milk, and I have a rotisserie chicken. This is where the lazy, quick, and easy comes in. Let's put it together. So first, you'll want to preheat the oven to 350 degrees. Put the light on here, and don't forget to remove your pans from the oven. Let's do that. By the way, this video was requested by my younger cousin who moved away from home and wants to make something quick and easy in his apartment. I have my husband on the rotisserie chicken here, and now I'm just going to start opening and prepping everything to just put it together in one pan. By the way, cousin, you don't even have to cook this on the stove. It's kind of like just dump it into a baking dish and bake. It's really easy. Okay, so I'm going in with my 22 ounce can of cream of chicken going in. I also want to mention, for those of you at home that want to season and add spices or seasonings, please, by all means, do that. I just wanted to show the bare minimum, bare effort recipe for chicken pot pie. Fall is here. Of course, it's not super cold here in Texas, but it's got me dreaming of, fall vibes and baking. Okay, so at this point, you'll want to fill your can with milk. I only had a little bit of half and half. I'm going to mix this up, and the rest, I'm just going to add water. But ultimately, whole milk works. Fill the can, dump it in the pan, and then you'll want to just combine and mix everything until it's creamy and smooth. So while I'm mixing this, I wanted to mention I also have a homemade from scratch version of my chicken pot pie or chicken and biscuits. I will link that in this video or in the description below. It's so good if you want to put in the effort and time. Okay, so once this is combined and creamy, you'll want to start adding your chicken. So the rotisserie chicken, I like to chop it into morsels. You can definitely shred it. It really is up to you. I just like to have chunks of chicken throughout this chicken pot pie, so I'm gonna chop it. So while I'm chopping this, I'd like to mention this recipe, you can pretty much find this recipe like on the Campbell's Soup website. This is pretty much the go-to recipe that you see people make all the time when they want a quick and easy chicken pot pie. Okay, so now I'm ready to start adding and dumping all of the ingredients together. I'm starting with the chicken. And I also want to mention, it does help if your mixed vegetables are sort of thawed. They can be kind of cold, but if they're completely frozen, that is going to change the cook time and you might end up with raw biscuit dough. So it does help to thaw them a bit. So I'm going to give this a really good mix. And like I said, for my people that like to be really creative or have seasonings and spices, because I can assure you, my cousin just moved into his apartment. He probably only has salt and pepper. So that's what I'm going to add. I'm just going to add some pepper, a tiny pinch of salt. The Campbell's Soup is really salty. The small amount of salt that I'm going to add is just for those frozen veggies. So I'm just going to give it a pinch there, maybe like a 1/4 teaspoon, give it a mix, and that is it. That is the simplest, no effort method I use. Okay, so everything is combined, creamy, mixed well. So now it's time to top it with your flaky biscuits. Okay, so the trick here is you have 8 jumbo biscuits, and I'm going to carefully open this. I really hate this part. So I'm going to take each biscuit and divide it into two. And the flaky biscuits are the biscuits that kind of separate a lot easier because they're kind of in layers as opposed to just the regular fluffy biscuits. So I'm going to put per row 2 biscuits that I've separated in half. So it's basically 4 on each row. This is what it looks like close up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 biscuits per row that are split in half. Okay, my oven's preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. It's going in for like 35 to 40 minutes or until the dough is cooked. In the meantime, I'm just going to clean up my mess. Clean as you go, cousin. That really helps, especially in a small space. I have a pretty big kitchen, but if you're working with the tiny one, you got to clean it up. Don't wait till later. So while it's baking, I'm going to clean. Okay, so it has been 40 minutes. This is done. And it has completely cooked through. And if you do find that once the 35 to 40 minutes are up and the dough is still sort of raw underneath, let it go for an extra 5 to 10 minutes. Like I said, if you're working with completely frozen veggies, it's going to throw off the cook time and it's going to take a little bit longer to cook that dough. Okay, so at this point, you'll want to bring it out so it'll cool for maybe 5 to 10 minutes. Just let it set up until you serve, and that's it. This is the easiest, no effort, laziest chicken pot pie you probably could make. Everybody knows this recipe. Everyone's probably tried it, and it's so good, and it's perfect for my beginner cooks that just want to make a homemade meal. You want to skip out on eating out and make something that'll serve at least 4 people. You might have leftovers. By the way, leftovers are great the next day with this. But check this out. 2 scoops per plate. This meal goes a long way. Definitely feeds a family of 4. Serve a side salad and you're good to go. So I hope you give any of these recipes a try. I hope you like them, and thanks for watching.